So we're doing some work on the girlfriend's Genesis today, pulling some dents and changing the rear diff fluid. I'm sorry I got carried away and forgot to make a video where I actually showed it being drained. Your diff fluid is probably a good idea to change it every, I don't know, 80, 100,000 kilometers or so. I don't know what Hyundai recommends. It's a 75W90 in this car. It's a Genesis Coupe 2.0 turbo, and it does not have the limited slip differential. I like using the Motul gear oils normally, but I thought I had a limited slip, so I bought some AMS oil that has the additive because I was also doing some diff fluid on my truck. But I run the Motul in my Golf R there, and it does really well. It's held up to all sorts of track abuse. The car will take about 1.5 liters of oil. This one, so to change it, you'll need about 1.5 liters of oil. This one took a 15/16 socket on the drain and fill plug, and then you'll need a pan. Ideally you change the washers. I don't have ones this big, so I'm going to reuse them. What I do is I kind of sand them down flat and then hit them with a blowtorch and then yield them, and then you can reuse them. It's not right, but it works. I never had a problem. But any good gear oil, you want to make sure your car has a limited slip or not. You can spin one tire, and you see when this one goes forwards, that one goes back. So it doesn't have the LSD. This is just an open differential, so we don't need the limited slip additive. If you put oil with the LSD additive into it, it doesn't matter. But if you don't need the LSD, if you get oil like that Gear 300 there that doesn't have the limited slip additive, then it allows the blender to put more of other additives into the oil, so you can get a stronger additive package. I know some cars recommend changing the diff fluid like a lot later. The thing with differential fluid is that as the gears mesh, they can actually shear the oil, so it's not just like using up the additive package, it's like mechanically shearing the polymers. Is that the right word? Like the chains that make the oil. And also you get like some metal buildup in there. Like this one actually has a magnetic drain plug, which is kind of nice to catch some of that. Some will have a magnet actually inside the case. But if you get that metal out, obviously it'll help your bearings a bit more. So this one, when I drained it, it looked pretty nasty. 130,000 kilometers of not very hard driving, and there's, you know, a fair bit of metal in there. And on the drain plug, a fair bit. I mean, like just like you'd wipe your thumb and kind of feel it. So what I did was before I'm filling it, I drew up some of the old Motul there in my fluid pump, and I just put it back through to flush it. I forgot to start filming, so I didn't show the drain and fill procedure, but I'll climb under the car and show you where those plugs are. So here's our differential. Here's the front of the vehicle. So our drain plug's right here, and our fill plug goes right here. So what you want to do is loosen this first, because if you get your drain plug loose and then you can't get your fill plug loose, you're kind of boned. So make sure you can get this loose first before you go drain the oil. Then also it just helps the oil drain faster. So you want the car more or less level. We're going to take out this large bolt here, clean off around it first, and then take that out, and then loosen our drain plug, and our oil will come out. Make sure you have your pan under it. Some might come out when you take this plug out. And then it takes about 1.5 liters, a little under that. So with the vehicle level, the way that you tell is you just fill it until it starts running out of this hole. But you can see there's a fair bit of space here relative to some vehicles. So if we get the AMS oil, or say like I think the Valvoline comes in the pack now where you can hold the pack up and put it in. But I always prefer just to use my little pump thing. So I'll show you that in a second. So quick note, I don't work on Hyundai a lot, so I don't know if these are anything like the Volkswagens, but Volkswagen's always changing the drain plug socket or hex sizes that you need. This one here, I thought it would be metric, but it seems to be a 15/16 for both the drain and the fill. The drain plug is a larger thread because it looked like it had a magnet on it, so you can't get them mixed up. And regarding oil, 75W90 for this. Generally I like the Motul oils, especially like for engine oil, like the Motul Power series. I run in that and it's great. And that car is tuned and I get oil analysis on it. It's always awesome. The AMS oil does make good gear oil. I'm not the biggest fan of their motor oil for a couple of reasons, but this does have the limited slip additive in it. If you have an LSD diff, make sure you get oil that has that. And if not, you can add additive, or if you start, some vehicles want more, so like the ones in these won't be super aggressive, but if you put gear oil in and then you start having problems with your LSD, you might have to add more additive. So that's just a consideration. These packs here are nice because you can just squeeze it in like that. I always prefer to just use one of these fluid pumps because I have them. They're really cheap. It's worth owning if you do this kind of work. And then a lot of vehicles like these here, like you're not going to be able to just like get a bag of this in. You know, if you ever worked on those Volkswagens, there's not a lot of space in there sometimes. So there's a lot of space, so these are fine, but I'll use this pump anyway. But these are worth buying. You just put that in and draw it up, and then you inject it in kind of like a big syringe. So what we'll do is we'll draw up some of the oil and then we'll put it in. Before I pour oil or change fluids, I always give it a little shake there to make sure none of the additive package is settled out from sitting on a shelf or something. So here we are under the vehicle. Here's the oil pump and we're going into the fill hole. And you see how much easier that is than messing around with bags of oil. So we just keep filling it until fluid starts coming out of that hole. Whoop! Try and do that with one hand. It's not full yet, but you fill it until that starts dripping, and then you throw your drain plug in and you're good to go. Again, make sure the area around that there where the sealing ring goes is clean. So with these little oil pump things here, just make sure that you keep the end of it clean. Dick jokes aside, but you know, you don't want to be throwing it on the ground, picking up dirt and putting it in the car. And then I only film a little bit of the way, that way I can pull it out and pull the plunger back, and then the actual hose itself fills with air, and then you have you know, it's not like full all the way dripping everywhere while you're trying to get it up into the vehicle. So we have the differential filled to where now fluid is dripping out of it. So this is where you put your drain plug in, and again, make sure the vehicle is level, more or less. It has to be level. Some fluid around out like that's fine, but this is when you know it's full. So once it starts pouring out there, you just torque that bolt down with your new washer. The torque spec on these is reasonable. I'm sure there's a torque spec, but just don't go crazy. They honestly don't need to be that tight. Then you can sit back and enjoy that your Genesis now has fresh differential fluid, and hopefully it'll last many more years. I'll probably make some more videos on this car because I'm going to be working on it a fair bit. Has a lot of maintenance that needs to be done. So the procedure's over now, but while I've got you guys here, I did want to talk quickly about differentials and overfilling them and extended capacity pans and how they're a bad idea. So, contrary to what that Thrice song might have you believe, paramedics are not artists. So here's my sketch. Or maybe he's talking about him being in the ambulance. I don't know. Anyway, so we'll call this a differential case. Here's your ring gear. Here's the pinion. So your engine drives the axle, which puts power here. There's a gear, which spins this gear. And then the drive shaft comes out here, which turns your tire. So when we fill the differential, usually, you know, the level is set by the manufacturer, by that fill plug. But there's no pump pumping the fluid. The fluid is picked up by the ring gear and carried around. And then the fluid level will lubricate the outer bearings in a solid axle. So people think that by overfilling your differential you're gaining something. What's happening is you're changing the way the fluid dynamics work here, and you get all this splashing and sloshing around. You can actually aerate the fluid, and when you get air in the fluid, it'll reduce its ability to lubricate, right? So there's all these companies for your pick 'em up trucks there, like Mag High Tech and all those guys, and they sell a pan that goes on here and bolts like this, right? I don't know if there's one for Genesis or not, but they're like, oh yeah, more fluid, more blah blah blah. Once you heat soak it, like it's heat soaked. I don't know if these actually reduce the temperature. Like my solution to that would be just change your fluid more often, and really you don't have to change it that often. So just use good fluid. Like don't cheap out and just get good gear oil. But when we have these kind of square, like expanded pans, it changes the way the fluid carries around here. It'll kind of slosh in here, and it can aerate. And then you wind up, okay, yeah, you have more fluid. Like maybe it's like what I'd consider to be insignificantly amount cooler, if anything, once it's heat soaked the case, right? Like, but it's just going to cause air bubbles in the fluid, and you're going to under lubricate this gear mesh, and you're going to under lubricate these bearings, and you'll actually make stuff last shorter lifespan. So don't go putting all these poorly engineered expanded pans on things and going overfilling stuff. Like there's some cases with like specific applications, like you're like, oh, your NV 4500, you got to overfill it a little bit because when it's low, it'll like under lubricate this bearing. So and that's a known thing, and that's cool. But if that's not a known problem with the gear case that you're changing the oil in, don't overfill it, right? Like when we overfill oil, your crankshaft will like whip it and aerate it, and then your pump has problems, and you're pumping aerated fluid around, and it actually takes power away because there's all this extra oil mist in the engine that the crankshaft has to whip through, right? So when we're changing these fluids, don't try and dick with it unless there's a known problem where people will overfill it on purpose. Just like make sure the vehicle is level within reason. It doesn't have to be perfectly level, but just, you know, within reason. Like you don't need laser level or anything. But and then it's going to be set the way that the engineers designed all this geometry to work, so that it doesn't aerate the fluid and it properly lubricates everything. And if you're really worried about you know, abuse on the vehicle or having to have something to supplement this gear case in your differential or your manual transmission or whatever, just change your fluid more often and use good fluid. All right, well, that's that. So good luck. It's not hard changing the rear diff fluid on these. It's really simple. You don't need any special tools or anything. If anyone has any questions, feel free to put them down in the comments and I'll try and answer.